The committee concluded that the economic data do not yet provide sufficient confirmation of its baseline outlook to warrant such a reduction. Moreover, the committee has some concern that the rapid tightening of financial conditions in recent months could have the effect of slowing growth.
Potentially, how bad could this uncertainty and even the possibility of the government shutdown or a default, how bad could that be for an economy which is clearly still struggling along?
I think the threat that these shutdowns might have to the economy are grossly exaggerated. They were exaggerated in 2011, exaggerated every time that we have come up against this. The administration says if this doesn't happen, we're going to have a collapse.
But in fairness, this wasn't the administration. This is Ben Bernanke talking about.
Yeah, but look, he's covering for his steps because he'd given the wrong signal. He had told everybody to prepare for a tightening of the loose money policy. He'd have the stock market was adjusting, it was slipping a bit, and then all of a sudden he decides he's going to change gears. And the reason he did isn't the shutdown and all that. That was a way to cover up his zigzag on this. It's because of the astonishingly slow recovery that has happened on this administration. This is the worst recovery. I mean, this is a cliche already. But look, a year after the Reagan recession, we had a growth rate of 7%. Here we are 5 years out, and Obama keeps emphasizing the anniversary. It's the 5th year of this recovery, essentially, of this recession, but we're 4 years out on the recovery. We're growing at 1.5%, historically low, and with no prospect. He says the data. I love the way he says the data. There's nothing in here that shows that we're accelerating. Remember, Obama is the one who passed the stimulus in the first months of administration, the biggest in the history of the world, which he said would jumpstart the economy. It didn't. As a result, the Fed has had to keep it on life support. This is $1 trillion a year he's pumping in. You know, he says $85 billion a month. It sounds small, that's a relativity, but if you do the math, which is you multiply by 12, it's $1 trillion a year.
I didn't know there was going to be math in this panel.
Actually, it's real money, right?
It's $1 trillion a year for several years, and the economy is stuck and listing. It's not going anywhere.
30 seconds left in this segment, so I'm going to ask you to be concise. Does the government shut down or not?
No.
Does the debt limit, do we default on the debt?
20 seconds now.
I understand that, but now if you keep talking like this, we won't.
To ask your question, so it should be a short one. Go ahead.
Yes. Are we going to default on the debt?
Absolutely not.
There we go. Very well done, sir. You have 10 seconds. Anything you want to talk about?
That's concision in action.
We have never pursued or sought a nuclear bomb, and we are not going to do so. We are solely seeking peaceful nuclear technology.
There have been a lot of very interesting things said out of Tehran and the new government, and encouraging things, but actions are more important than words.
What's the problem with sitting down and talking?
Because they are just stringing us along. I mean, any negotiation that starts with a lie as large as the one you just heard, Rouhani saying we are not seeking a bomb and we never have, doesn't have good prospects. It is, of course, obvious that Iran is seeking the bomb. And here's a fact that underlies all the speculation. The IAEA reported in August that Iran has 186 kilograms of 20% enriched uranium. You need 250 to make a bomb. They are on the horizon. They are within reach. This is a goal Iran has had for decades. It will give it the dominance in the region over the Gulf Arabs, over everybody that the Persians have sought for about 2,000 years. They have shown not an iota of response in the nuclear arena to any sanctions. Yes, it's hurt them economically, but our director of DNI has said in Congress there hasn't been any stoppage, any change in the nuclear pursuit. And the last part, I think, is this. The Iranians can see they are near the finish line. What they're worried about now is not economic sanctions, which they have sustained and suffered for a few years. What they're worried about is an Israeli strike at the last minute. They have doubled the number of machines spinning uranium. They have been discovered to have a second program of plutonium. Any country that isn't seeking the bomb is not going to have a plutonium program parallel. They are within a horizon of reaching it. They have maybe half a year or a year to get there. If they can forestall the Americans, engage in negotiations, the Israelis cannot strike, and they go nuclear.
So would you say, we got less than 2 minutes left, would you say just ignore them, don't even test them, don't even say, well, if you're really serious about this, President Rouhani, then do this?
But your assumption is if that we haven't negotiated or tested or proposed or made offers. We've been doing that for 6 years.
I understand that, but this is a new guy and a new foreign minister, Javad Zarif.
Right, but he doesn't determine how the nukes are handled. That's all in the hands of Khamenei, who is a constant. He's been in power the whole time. Rouhani's the front man. He is not going to be the one who decides. You want to test him? Give him a proposal and give him 2 weeks to respond. And then you say, you draw a red line. But who's going to believe a red line Obama's going to draw?
This has been a Sunfish production.